Good morning, true crime friends. How y'all doing? Listen, Donna Adelson, trial day 3, the day of the exes. So much happened in this trial. But then again, so much happens every single day in this trial. Oh, you know we're going to get into it. But first, you know what you need to do. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share out this madness that I call a YouTube channel. Me and you, we're going to get to 30,000 subscribers together. And also, there's a lot of people in this trial, just like a lot of different characters. I've created an Adelson trial cheat sheet. There's a link. It's free. You can print it out. You can follow along. There's a link to that cheat sheet in the description box of this video. So get on down there and find it. There's other stuff down there too. Okay, so look. First up on the witness stand was one Jeffrey Lacass. Do y'all know about Jeff Lacass? Look, if you watch the Charlie trial, then you know all about Jeff Lacass. Honey, she's a talker. Oh, Jeff Lacass is a chatty Cathy. The way I love a chatty Cathy. This is what you need to know. Jeff Lacass was dating Wendy Adelson around the time of the unfortunate unaliving. Now, Wendy was a professor, a law school professor up there at Florida State University. Jeff Lacass was also a professor in the psychology department. So that means he knows about like brain stuff. And obviously, if you're dating a psychologist, he's going to analyze you. Like, maybe not to your face, but he was in the back room like, this family is crazy. So when Jeff went to talk to the police, he was like, that family was super duper enmeshed. They were real crazy. Let me tell you all the different ways. And the police were like, okay, Jeff, you're a lot. You're kind of a whole lot. Slow down and then tell us every single thing. And Jeff gave a many hours long interrogation to the police. Ooh, child, was here on the tubes of you. You can go out there and find it. But Jeff basically said Donna was really nosy and that Charlie was half a criminal and that Wendy was a sociopath. I mean, he used a whole bunch more words to say that, but basically that's what he said. And then he was asked on direct examination, or he said during direct examination, Wendy had asked him like, hey, listen, quick question. When do kids start to form a memory? Like, when do they start to remember what happened? Keep in mind, at the time of this crime, Wendy's children were like 3 and 4 years old. And in retrospect, it's like, you trying to erase their daddy before they can even remember him? Sociopath. But then the defense was like, objection, Your Honor, truth telling. And so the judge was like, oh, Lord, I'm sick of y'all. And so he was just like, okay, approach. And it turns out that while Jeff had said that in his deposition, that information was never handed over to the prosecution. And it was never handed over to the defense. So it was a oopsie. And so the judge was like, right, hey, jury, hey, can you just disregard that very incriminating thing that Wendy reportedly just said? Just take it on out of your mind. Thank you so much. You know, the jury was like, wait, Wendy is evil. When are y'all charging her? But you know, that's not what they said out loud. I'm saying, I feel in my spirit, that's what they were thinking in their brain. And then Jeff went on to explain, Wendy had this very large TV, a 55-inch. This was like 11 years ago. She had a 55-inch. Ooh, nobody was having 55 inches back then. Anyway. So it had like a punch mark in it. He's like, yeah, it looked like an adult had put their fist through it and then it like spider webbed out. And that was the TV that Charlie had bought for Wendy. Remember when Charlie made the joke, oh, I was going to hire a hitman, but this TV was cheaper. So here's your divorce present. And Jeff was like, okay, I mean, it's a terrible joke, but fine, whatever. And so Wendy was just like, you know, Jeff, the only way I can ever relocate is if Dan is no longer in the picture. And Jeff, thinking he was dealing with a sane person, was like, look, Wendy girl, this is your kid's daddy. You're going to be stuck with him for the rest of your life. You know, Wendy was like, you know, I'm going to go into the ugly cry because Wendy is given to like histrionics and hysterics and have a little bit of a ticklish brain. And so he was just like, you're just going to have to get used to it. Now, look, I'm trying to date you because you're real cute. I love it when you diddle my kibbles and bits. Are you going to be in Tallahassee or are you not going to be in Tallahassee? And Wendy was like, can I tell you a little bit of a secret? Ooh, that amphibian is back in my throat. Please hold. Wendy says to Jeff, can I tell you something in confidence? And he was like, of course. And then later, can you diddle my kibbles and bits? You can? Okay, great. Tell me anything, but hurry up because, you know, let's get to diddling. And she was like, wow, last year, Charlie looked into hiring a hitman. It was like $15,000. And So maybe I won't be having to deal with my ex-husband for long. And Jeff Lacass was like, oh, okay. Wow. And he was like, I was not sure whether to take her seriously. Was this just more of her like being frustrated? But then on the heels of finding out that the husband was unfortunately unalived by a hitman, it had a whole new meaning. And he was just like, okay. And then Jeff Lacass goes on to inform us about how now, when he looks back, he feels like Wendy set him up. This is what you need to know. The killers of Danny Markell came to Tallahassee twice. Both of those days that they were in town were on days that Jeff Lacass was scheduled to be leaving town, right? Also, they rented cars that were very similar to Jeff's car, and Jeff would have had to drive past the area where Dan Markell lived on his way out of town. Can you imagine dating a woman that you find out was trying to set you up for an unfortunate unalive? You know Wendy's kitty cat is feral, honey. You know she does all the things. He's just like, you're a little bit crazy and look like somebody punched your TV. Oh, you're real cute though. So then the disgraced judge and funeral home proprietor, Jackie Fulfer, got up to cross-examine. And she was like, right, but my client is Donna. Like, you talking all this mess about Wendy. My client is Donna. Did you ever really meet Donna? Aside from like a hi bye? And he was like, well, no, I met her briefly. You know, that was it. It wasn't really much. And I was like, okay. So while it's real clear that Wendy is real evil, reportedly, allegedly, because y'all, she has not been arrested yet. But we're not going to say too much about her because we don't know how litigious she is. Although, girl, you about to be on trial for murder. You got other fish to fry and not worried about internet gossips. But, you know, I don't know what's going on in her brain. So we just going to leave that alone. And then Chunda was called to the stand. Now, listen. If you know June, like I know June, you know she's real, real pretty. And she looks exactly like all of Charlie Adelson's other girlfriends. All of these women look exactly alike. Also, they are not the brain trust. June, bless her, not the sharpest tool in the shed. She's real, real pretty though. She's real cute. And so the state was like, the state of Florida, called June Chunda, and then they couldn't find her. Now, if you will recall, during Charlie's trial, June got lost on the way to the courthouse. Maybe it's a big and confusing courthouse. And so the judge was like, don't tell me she's lost again. Can somebody send out the FBI, the marshals or whatever? June keeps getting lost. And last time, not only did she get lost, showed up late, she was sitting there on the stand and then her phone went off. June's act right is nowhere near being installed. But I think people forgive her because she's real pretty. So finally, she got lost. So everybody took a break. And then finally, June got found and she's like, hi. I'm like, okay, June, calm down. We know all the air in your head might help you, make you feel like you're going to float away, but maybe you can stay grounded here in this moment. And she's like, okay, I dated Charlie, but it was a dream. It was a fairy tale romance. I mean, until he was convicted for murder and until he was being investigated for murder and had that baby with that other lady and started treating me real mean. Other than that, it was a really great relationship. June, girl, I'm gonna need you to raise the bar. Just a scotch. First of all, try not to date men who were accused of unfortunately unaliving others. How about we start there? But she's like, When I first met him, the family was not being investigated. They seemed like a normal, nice family. And I was like, okay. Something tells me you don't have good judgment, June. But that's just me. I don't know. You might be watching this now. I hope you're having a lovely day. But girl. Anyway, so she's like, me and Charlie were watching the 2020 episode about his family. Ma'am, do not date men if there's a 2020 episode about his family. Unless it's like, here's a profile of a wonderful, happy family. No, there was an unalive accusation floating around this family. Undateable. Anyway, so she was like, on the 2020 episode, they mentioned that the hit people got paid in money that was stapled together. And she's like, and I was thinking to myself, oh, wow, that's how Charlie keeps his money. It's really, really weird. Girl. And so she said, then I noticed that Katie and Charlie were talking a whole lot And I said to him, how come you don't talk to me like that? And he was like, babe, we live together. I don't have to call you at odd hours in the middle of the night while sitting in the closet whispering on my cell phone because me and you are in the same room all the time. And she's like, right. Can you take me to dinner though? Or something like that. And then reportedly, allegedly, well, listen, she said it on the stand, so I'm just going to say what she said. June met Donna Adelson. First of all, I need to know, why was Donna not obsessed with Charlie's girlfriends being Jewish? Because Charlie seemed to have a thing for Asian women. That's not to say an Asian woman can't be Jewish, but all the other kids had to marry somebody Jewish. Charlie could just do whatever he wanted. Very curious to me. Maybe because he was out here doing mama's dirty work. Also, she knew she couldn't wrangle Charlie. Child, the police can't even wrangle Charlie. Anyway. So June said that her and her flighty self were over at the Adelsons for some family gathering, and Donna was crying on the balcony, and she was like, oh, Donna, don't cry. Everything is going to be okay. And Donna reportedly said to her, I feel like Daniel Markel is back from the dead. He's haunting me. And to that I say, girl, that's probably because he was. You know, as soon as Dan got off to the Endless Heaven buffet, kosher section, of course, he was like, this is delicious. Who knew that they had this kind of pastrami in heaven? Also, Donna girl, I see you. I'm coming back to get you. That's what happened in my mind. I don't know. But I feel like the reason that this all came together the way it did was because Dan was haunting Donna. And for that, I have a great appreciation for Danny Markel. Anyway, June tells us that after the bump, Charlie changed. He was nervous. He was paranoid. And he just was like, he was carrying a gun. He was all hopped up. Now, we've heard in other trials that he was mean to her. He also cheated on her and had a baby with another lady during the course of their relationship. But I guess their relationship was a fairy tale. Other than that, and if you watch Charlie Adelson's trial, you may recall that after poor June got lost and finally found her way to the courthouse, she was leaving the court and she was like, bye, Charlie. Happy birthday. You know, she wanted him to have a good birthday. Anyway, next up on the stand. Well, wait. And then Jackie Fulford did her cross-examination. Jackie, hey, girl, hey. Number one, I appreciate that you finally got some tailoring on your suits. You no longer look like you're wearing your father's clothes. And for that, I appreciate, because yes, I am here for justice. I am also here for the hairstyles, the fashions, and everything petty that I could point out in the courtroom. You're welcome. Anyway, somebody down to the funeral home finally got you a suit that fit. I'm so happy for you. They couldn't just shorten up them sleeves, so just a little. This is the thing, ma'am. Shortening the sleeves are probably the easiest thing to do in tailoring. The sleeves and the hem, those are easy. You got a suit that fits, you look nice, your hair is pulled together, you look slightly less homeless, but those sleeves are still too long. Just roll it up, girl. If you rolled it up, we couldn't tell at all, and you could still be warm. Fashion tips from a gossip who talks wearing her pajamas. But I'm just saying, child, I'm not on national TV giving court information, so I could, sit in my house and talk mess. Anyway, next on the stand is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, Ryan Fitzpatrick is kind of a scumbag from what I've been able to glean from these last two trials. But he and Charlie used to be really, really good friends. Ryan did not know Charlie at the time of the unfortunate unaliving or of the bump, but he recognized that immediately after the bump, Charlie's attitude changed. He was anxious. He was hypervigilant. He was running around the house carrying weapons and stuff like that. Also, Charlie and Ryan went into business together and they had some sort of falling out. And Ryan reportedly said a lot of racial slurs and terrible things. And I was like, oh, Ryan, you're back. Great. He came to the stand just to tell us that Charlie changed a lot after the bump. I guess signs of stress. Okay, fine. And so then there was a cross-examination where little boy blue, disgraced judge and funeral home proprietor Jackie Fulford got up and asked exactly the same questions that the prosecution had asked. And I was like, does she know this is a trial and she's supposed to be defending Donna? I I'm not sure that Mrs. Fulford, hey, Mrs. Fulford, how you doing? I'm not sure that she knows what she's here for. That the defense seems wildly unprepared. Every time they have a witness, they're like, wait. That was today. We didn't realize we were on trial like today just because we were on trial yesterday. And yes, state, we know you've tried this case 3 times and you have all your tabs and you have everything in a row and you just ask your questions. Before every witness, Jackie consults with respected attorney Joshua Zellman. And then I feel like they sitting there coming up with a list of questions. Well, should we ask him this? Should we ask him? No. Y'all, this is what pretrial prep is for, according to Emily D. Baker. Look, I have never been a judge. I have never been a lawyer. See, also, I'm a gossip on the internet who reports live from her living room while wearing pajamas, but still, I have highly sensitive recording devices in my face. They're called my eyes, and I can see that y'all don't know what y'all doing. Y'all are a whole entire mess up there. I'm living for it. But anyway, so I was like, okay, what else y'all gonna fumble through now? And so next, the state calls this financial investigator, and she went over everybody's money. She looked at everybody involved. I'm talking Sigfredo, I'm talking Katie, Luis Garcia, Charlie, Wendy, everybody involved in this case. She did a deep dive into all of their money. And I was like, girl, tell me every single thing. You know I love personal business, and I especially want to know how people spend their money. And so what she discovered was that after the unfortunate unaliving, for 4 months, hitman helper Luis Garcia was solvent. Prior to that, child, he was bouncing checks left, right, and center. But after the unfortunate unaliving, his checks were clearing. Everything was fine. So for 4 months, his finances were in good shape, which caused me to think, a man's life was worth 4 months worth of income. That seems crazy to me. And for some of these participants, they didn't even stay solvent that long. That Sigfredo Garcia, well, he was on first name basis with, hookers and blow. And he just blew through his money 1, 2, 3. This entire story is crazy at the value that all of these people have placed on this man's human life. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But anyway, Charlie, according to the financial records, he gave Katie like a big bump of money, like $40,000. And then he started paying a lot of her bills. And then he put her on the payroll at the Adelson Institute. And then reportedly, allegedly, well, we know Katie got a boob job. See also the murder boobs. Murder mammaries, you call them whatever you want to call them, but she got some boobs on the heels of this unfortunate unaliving, and Charlie helped her pay for those. Okay. And then we find that Charlie and the Adelson Institute wrote Katie Magbanua 44 checks, and some of them were in sequential order. It was kind of like the same amount every time or near the same amount every time. They were supposed to simulate like a paycheck, but sometimes she cashed them early. Child, Katie was a whole mess. And for all of those 44 checks, Donna signed them. Okay. We also discover that at the time that Wendy had said, I was going to buy this house, but I backed out because I really didn't have the money. Around the same time Wendy backed out from buying the house, this financial person told us, I looked at her bank account. She definitely had enough money for the down payment of this house. But she backed out of the house around the time that her brother Charlie had identified a hit person who could take out her husband. Sus. Super duper sus. Wendy could have afforded to pay. She could have afforded the house. She could have afforded to pay her third of the money to cover the unfortunate unaliving of her husband, Dan Markel. On cross-examination, Lord, this woman is tedious. Disgraced judge and funeral home proprietor Jackie Fulford got up there and it's like, right, the Adelsons had a lot of cash, but it's because they offered discounts for cash, but it was only a 5% discount so that people didn't have to pay for like the credit card fees, right? So there was a reason that they were keeping huge amounts of cash. Right. But why were they keeping the cash out of the banking system? They just had piles of cash here, there, and everywhere. Very, very curious. Okay, why was y'all hoarding cash like this? Did you always hoard cash? Did you always wash it in the washing machine? I have so many questions. Then Harvey's dental assistant of 40 years took the stand. And I was just like, we just plowing through witnesses. This is quite delightful. And so the dental assistant was like, I worked there for 40 years. Harvey was really nice. I was recently married. Congratulations to me. And Harvey got a big smile on his face like, oh, I'm so happy my former dental assistant got married. The dental assistant still works for the practice that took over the Adelson Institute. Good for you, girl, for keeping up with job security, because all these mamalukes going to jail or hell or whatever. It's not going to be a good situation for them, but it seems like things are working out for you, and that's real nice. And then on cross-examination, disgraced judge and funeral home proprietor Jackie Fulfer got up there and was like, right, Donna was nice though, wasn't she? And the lady was like, Donna was nice. She's like, she never talked bad about her son-in-law in front of you, did she? And the dental assistant was like, no, I never heard her say anything. But ma'am, Donna's not crazy. I mean, she crazy, but she has manners. She keeps her pinkies out. She knows not to go to the office and talk mess about her son-in-law. Also, you know that dental assistant, 40 years working with the same dude, she know all their family secrets. She knows all their business, child. She knows everything. And I need her to just whisper right in my ear, child, tell me everything. And then I was like, okay, this day is plodding on. Here we go. And then it happened. Then they called her. Katie Magbanua took the stand. And I was like, oh, Katie is here. Oh, the way I want to see Katie. Y'all, if you have not, go find the videos of Katie Magbanua on the stand during Donna Adelson's trial. Let me tell you something. Donna Adelson had a whole mouthful of complaints. The medical care is bad. I have gained weight. There's nothing but carbs in the diet. My ends are fried. There's no Botox here in prison. I don't like anything about it. Katie Magbanua was a vision of glory. Prison agrees with her. Her skin flawless, her hair beautiful, full. She might need to talk to Donna about how to prison better, because Katie Magbanua, now does she want to be in prison for life? No, but she is making that situation work for her. I don't know if that was tampon curls in her hair. I don't know what she did, but Katie Magbanua was looking snatched. Although she was in prison orange, sounded like the ghost of Christmas past with them chains like chink, 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 because you know they had that heifer all trussed up in all these chains. Donna, girl, that's the ghost of your future. Look around, it's not gonna be good. So Katie Magbanua was just like, well, wait, this is what you need to understand. Before Katie came in, the judge was like, Mrs. Adelson. I was like, uh-oh. Donna, you in trouble. You just sitting there, you in trouble. You haven't even done nothing yet. The judge was like, Mrs. Adelson, I understand that this testimony may be triggering for you, but the Act Right installation team is standing by. So heifer, fix your face. That's not what he said. That is absolutely the spirit of what he said. Fix your face. I got a gavel up here. I have boncation authority, and you, my dude, might be in trouble if you don't get it together. She's like, I can keep it all the way together. I promise I'm going to get my poop in a group. I'm just going to be sitting right here trying not to weep. It was no dry crying. There was no triangle. I was like, okay. So I done tightened up Donna's act right, because she's like, you know what I don't want to be? Katie Magbanua sitting in prison for the rest of my life. Spoiler alert, in my opinion, Donna girl, you going down. You are going down, but not in the good way. You know what I mean? Anyway, so Katie Magbanua in all her gorgeous self with that full hair. How does she get that volume? Anyway, takes the stand, and she's just like, you know, Georgia Kappelman gets up there with her pussy bow blouse, and she was just like, okay, Katie, tell us what you got to tell us, girl. Now, look, they did it through a series of question and answers, but I'm just going to give you that good, because that's what you're here for, right? She was like, I lied at previous trials because I was trying to go home, and I just felt like prison is not for me. Also, all the rich, not brown people were free, and all the brown people was locked up, and I voted for team rich white people, and it didn't work out good for me. See, also, look at me, I'm still in chains. And so Georgia was like, right. So why you telling the truth now? And she's like, the truth has to come out. Katie girl, okay. And Georgia Kappelman was like, but we offered you immunity. You could have just gone home and been with your family. And Katie was like, right. But during my first trial, my baby daddy was up for the unfortunate unalive penalty, and I just couldn't do that to him. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then Georgia was like, right. But at your second trial, because if you recall, the first trial, they convicted Sigfredo, but they hung on Katie because one of the jury members, the vote was 11-1 to convict. One of the jury members said, I cannot send these two parents to jail. They have kids, including a special needs son. I can't send two parents to prison forever. That's the only reason that first jury hung. At the second trial, Katie was like, look, I have been living a lie for so long. Also, all the white people was free and I was trying to get with them. I wanted with some of what they was having, but it didn't work out good for me. And so now I'm doing life plus 30 years. And now I'm up here with no deal. I didn't use any lawyer. I gave a proffer. And I really, really hope to just see my kids someday again. On what grounds would you be able to see your kids again? Child, a jury rightfully convicted you. Maybe you get like a more free prison yard, but that's probably the most you're going to get. But okay, good for you. But anyway, she goes on and she tells her story. She's like, I'm out with Charlie. It's like our second date. And he's like, hey girl, hey, do you know anyone who could harm someone? Let me tell you something. I am not Katie Magbanua. I do not know her life. But if somebody walked up to me and was like, hey, we're dating, you're real cute, I like you a lot, do you know somebody who could harm someone? I would be insulted. Now, might I know somebody who could harm someone? Truthfully, I don't know. I know somebody who could hurt their feelings. I would volunteer for that. Could you pay me cash money for that? Please and thank you. But it would even still have to be a whole lot of money. Although sometimes I hurt people's feelings for free, but that's another story for another day. But if you were like, you know somebody who could unfortunately unalive somebody, I would be like, what? Me? Why would you think that about me? But anyway, Katie was just like, yeah. My baby daddy, he be harming people all the time. So that's not going to be a problem. Charlie was like, great, let's take the selfie. Click, takes a selfie of the two of them and texts it to Wendy. Wendy, I found somebody who could harm your ex-husband. We're in there. This is going to be great. And then Katie tells the story of how this hit came together. She was, spending the night at Charlie's house. And he was like, hey, girl, hey, remember that time you told me you knew somebody who could harm others? And she was just like, And so he was just like, okay, look, all the information is in this envelope and I didn't touch it and my DNA is not on it. And I printed it out at like another dentist's office. Why are you bringing other dentists into your unfortunate unaliving? Anyway, he's like, I printed it all out. Don't touch anything in this envelope. I'm going to put it in your diaper bag and then you just give it to the bad guys. And Katie was like, okay. And according to her, she didn't ask any questions. She went home and she was just like, hey, Sigfredo, I just got from under this really rich dentist and he left some paperwork for you. So why don't you go ahead and check it out? And so he goes and takes the piece of paper and just disappears and doesn't say anything to Katie. Something in this milk ain't clean. This whole story sounds crazy. Now, I don't know how hits go down, but I just feel like this does not feel like the usual path for me. Okay, fine. And then when it got closer to time to do the unfortunate unaliving, Sigfredo was like, hey girl, hey, we're going to need some walking around money. We're going to need like a deposit. So Katie goes back to Charlie, gets a few $100s. Katie gives the money to Sigfredo. Sigfredo goes, and that was the first trip to Tallahassee where the hitmen follow Dan around. They can't find him, and the hit does not happen. And then finally, Charlie was like, chop, chop, we need to get this going. And they were like, okay. So she gets a little bit more money from Charlie, gives that to the hit people. They go up north, they do the deed, and then they come back, and she's just like, okay, well, I guess it's done. You're going to need to pay them. And Charlie was like, okay. Katie goes to Charlie's house with the intent to pick up the $100,000 that was paid for the hit. But Charlie is a wreck. He's all hopped up. He's a nervous wreck and he's waving a gun around. And she's like, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, sir, I'm going to need you to calm down. Turns out taking somebody off the playing field and being kind of a hitman go-between is very stressful for young Charlie. Oh, poor little tank. Maybe you should not be unfortunate unaliving folks, but okay. Child, I was stressed out that time I hit a squirrel with my car. I can't even imagine a whole human being. I still feel like that squirrel is haunting me. But again, another story for another day. So Charlie, Katie is like, sir, please calm down. And he's just like, okay, I have some Xanax. I'm going to take a Xanny bar. Do you want one too? I, honest to God, thought a Xanny bar was like candy because it sounded like a candy bar to me. Clearly, I'm not up on all the latest narcotics. Praise God. Anyway, so he takes a Xanny bar and she takes some Xanax too. And then they fall asleep. And then she wakes up in the morning and she's like, I slept so good. What was that you gave me? And he was just like, okay, girl, I'm going to make some eggs. Your money is in the trunk of your car. And she's like, okay. And then according to her, she just got in her car and went home. And then she took the bag of money and she called up her baby daddy and gave him the money. Sigfredo, reportedly, allegedly, takes this bag of money and divides it up and pays everybody what they're supposed to pay them or whatever, and puts Katie's cut in the closet. Katie goes to the closet a day or two later. She's like, it's a bag inside of a bag, inside of a bag, inside of a Ziploc bag. And she opens it up and she's like, Charlie, got a question for you. Why is this money wet and moldy? What is happening? And he's like, oh, right. Yeah, my mom washed the money. Your mom? Y'all not good at crime. Now, money laundering, I have heard of. I don't think that's how that's supposed to go. And how come she didn't iron the money if she washed it? It was still damp. You didn't have time to tumble dry? Was it like an emergency washing? I have so many questions. Did she put it in like one of those lingerie bags? If you put it in the lingerie bag, when it comes out of the wash, then you could put it in the dryer. Also, money is dirty anyway. What was the point of washing the money? I will never understand. Soggy Dollars Donna, what were you thinking, girl? This is crazy. But I was like, okay. Katie went on to dry the money. Did she iron the money? Do you have to disinfect the money? Thank God Donna didn't bleach the money, because then it would have just been bunches of pieces of paper. These people are stupid. I hate to call people bad names, but these people deserved it. Also, they unfortunately unalived somebody, so I can call them what I want to. Anyway, so Jackie Fulford, disgraced judge and funeral home proprietor Jackie Fulford, gets up and she starts to cross-examine Katie. And I was like, she clearly had some of what June Chunda had, because she was confusing. She was confusing the diaper bag story with the money story. She didn't know what happened. And I was just like, wait, you didn't... Jackie, girl, I'm gonna need you to get this together. First, she was like, I have to consult with my co-counsel, because we just realized today that we're in an unalive trial. So we have to figure out the list of questions right here before I stand up and ask you them. Okay, this is what I need to know. Did you know this was going to be an unfortunate unaliving? And Katie was just like, I was like, oh. Okay. And they said, did you know that this was, did you know how much money you were supposed to get? And Katie was like, no, I was not. I was never really sure how much money I was going to get. Miss Katie, I know you stood there and promised to raise your hand with your gorgeous hair and promised to tell the truth, but something tell me that's a lie. How you going to involve yourself with this? You said the reason you did it was because you had money troubles, but you were going to invest in this situation and have no idea. What if he paid you 35 cents? What was you going to do then? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And then she's like, did you ever meet Donna? Did you ever meet my delightful client over there? And Katie was like, I met her one time. And so Jackie was just like, okay. And then she went and sat down. And I was like, she ain't really do nothing. Maybe she's going to be better with later witnesses. I believe in Jackie Fulford. She used to be a judge. She must know the law, right? Theoretically. Anyway, so Jackie sits down and I was like, Jackie, I don't know what's happening. Y'all, then Queen Georgia stood up and was like, let us make this abundantly clear. The way this happened was, of course, Katie didn't talk to Donna about this crime. There was a train. Remember we discussed the train? The Adelsons talked to Charlie. Charlie talked to Katie. Katie talked to Sigfredo. Sigfredo talked to Luis. That's the way it went. Communication went down this line the same way every single time. There was no level jumping. And Queen Georgia stood up in her gorgeous pussy bow blouse and was just like, look at the overhead projector. I have the pictures right here. This is how it went. And the defense was like, objection, truth telling. I don't know what she objected to. And the judge was like, heifer, sit down. And I was like, right, judge? Because I'm sick of her. Also, can somebody hem up them sleeves on that suit, because it's driving me crazy. So then it's the end of the court day, right? And I was like, oh, thank goodness, all these exes on the stand. Also, a question I'm asking for myself. Does Jeff Lacass and Rob Adelson, are they going to get together and form a support group? I really think they should form an Adelson support group. We got by the Adelson family. Anonymous? I don't know how that works, but you two should really, really get yourselves together. I'm just putting that out there in the universe, and I'm going to hope that works out. Last but certainly not least, they were like, we have one little witness we can slip in before the day is over. We are halfway through our witness list, which means we halfway through this trial. We expect to convict this heifer in short order. They got this detective up who was in charge of all the phones and stuff, and he did a tower dump. Now, a tower dump is when they look at the cell phone tower near a crime, and they're like, who was all near this? And they pulled all the phone numbers off that tower, and they're like, we don't have anything. So they start sifting through all the numbers, and they realize there's one number up here in North Miami that connects down to South, that's in North Florida, that connects down to South Florida. So they run down this number, they do a ton of research, and they realized at one point, Sigfredo Garcia called Harvey Adelson. That's the only connection, and it's a 30-second call that happened one time. What are the chances that these two would somehow connect? It kind of doesn't make sense, but here's the story behind that connection. Long before the hit, well, a couple of weeks before the hit, Sigfredo was high on cocaine. Not that he was addicted, but you know, he really enjoyed the smell of it. And he got mad, and he was like, wait, my baby's mama is dating this Charlie Adelson, a doctor. I'm going to go in the phone book. Did they have phone books back then? Did they have Google? Unclear. He looked up a Dr. Adelson and accidentally got Harvey Adelson, not Charlie Adelson. So he called the number that he found and was like, yo, leave my girl alone, blah, 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 blah. He just got an answering machine, and then he hung up. Right? And everybody knew after Harvey got the message, he was like, Charlie, I don't know what this is. And so Charlie talked to his dad about it. And then Charlie talked to Katie about it. And she's like, these people are stupid. I don't know what he wants. He's just freaking out. Don't worry about it. That one chance mistake phone call is the thing that put this all together. A word to the wise, don't do crimes with, well, okay, first of all, don't do crimes. That's number one. Number two, if you're going to do crimes, don't do it with a crazed cocaine fan. I'm just saying, y'all, we have covered a lot of ground today, and this is only day 3 of the trial. This trial is heating up. I am very, very anxious to see the jailhouse snitch. I want to hear about the flight to Vietnam or their attempted flights to Vietnam. We still have so much more to go. Every single day of this trial has been riveting, I tell you. I'm here. I'm perched every day. I will be here breaking down what happened in this case of the state of Florida versus, what's this heifer's name? Oh, Donna Adelson. Y'all stay safe out there, and I will see you next crime. Bye.